So I took all my money, all my credit cards, stopped paying my own bills, basically went damn near broke, couldn't afford $20 in the grocery store. It's actually the male equivalent of female's menopause. You will start to gain belly fat, to lose muscle mass, you will start to have mental health issues. She's depressed, she's anxious. I get her into the clinic, we optimize her hormones. Within weeks, he's like, whoa, you brought my wife back. I can't keep up because she's chasing me around the house wanting to have sex all the time. We want you to live longer. We want to optimize you. That's the difference in what we're doing.
12 years in the police force in the US.
I pulled my weapon a lot. I've been in extremely dangerous situations. I've almost been killed multiple times. So we end up saving 3 women, a couple dogs, and a cat. I ended up getting a Medal of Valor.
I always say Dubai is the Las Vegas of the Middle East. If you look at meme coins, I do think it's making a bit of a mockery on the market. Hello and welcome to Bet Talks, powered to you by 0x Processing. I'm Rick Godds and I'm joined by a guest. He is enforcement to entrepreneur. He is a healthcare visionary, a multiple business owner, and in crypto enthusiast. Welcome, Tommo Marjanovic.
Thank you, brother.
How you
Thank you
doing?
for having me on.
Welcome to Bet Talks, buddy. Good to have you here. How's things going?
Yeah, it's excellent. You know, I'm here in Dubai. I'm setting up businesses currently in Dubai. I have a medical company over in the US.
Yeah.
We have multiple locations doing anti-aging, wellness, preventive medicine, everything that has to do with pretty much living longer and living better.
Wow.
And obviously the crypto thing is always fun.
Yeah,
Good way to make money, you know.
Absolutely.
But you know, yeah, I mean, your intro, thank you, brother. I mean, enforcer to entrepreneur. I always say I'm an LEO, law enforcement officer, to CEO.
Wow.
And that process was all accidental, kind of fun.
Yeah. I read your bio before, obviously, we come in. I didn't
Sure.
just come in blindfolded.
Of course.
Here at Bet Talks, we discuss everything from gaming / gambling, crypto, everything emerging tech. Now, obviously, healthcare is massively within the AI technology sector and emerging within the UAE on a rapid scale. I'm sure that's why you're here. I'm sure that's why you're in the UAE, obviously, the fast growth of healthcare. I want to know how it all started. How did this sort of title, 12 years in the police force to now a multiple business owner? Tell me how it all began and what's the start of Tomo?
Yeah, so you know, I'm not a doctor. That's the one thing that everybody needs to understand. I'm a business owner. I started the business, but I was a patient in this industry before I was ever a business owner or wanted to be in the business. So my younger years, I was a bodybuilder and a fitness model. While I was bodybuilding in my very younger years, I'm talking 17, 18 years old. So I just turned 40 a week ago. So when I was young, I'm bodybuilding. I tell my coach, this is a very funny story, and some of you will find it quite laughable. I tell my coach, 19 years old, and I said, hey, I want to be Mr. Olympia. I said, I'm going to be Mr. Olympia. 19, you're an idiot. And I tell him this, and I said, but I know what that means. It means I need to take a bunch of steroids. I swear to God, this is a real conversation. He laughs, makes fun of me a little bit, and then he tells me, he says, why don't you get your blood work done? This is like 2003, 2004. Blood work and testosterone therapy, HRT clinics, this is not a thing back then.
Yeah.
And you and I are familiar with the HRT industry a little bit. So he tells me to get my lab work done. I get my testosterone levels back, and I'm 1,470 nanograms per deciliter, which is well over what the normal range is.
Okay.
The range right now is between, like, I think 250 and 900.
So from overusage, yes?
No. This is my natural level.
Oh, right, okay. Wow.
At 19 years old. 19 years old, I show him this. He's like, you're basically naturally on steroids. I said, awesome. I said, but I'm gonna need it eventually. So from that point, 19 years old, young kid, wanting to be Mr. Olympia, I start studying everything there is to know about hormones, about anti-aging, about wellness, about the endocrine system. And back then, Google and there was no ChatGPT. None of these things existed back then, right, in the early 2000s. So I'm reading books. I'm reading manuscripts. I'm finding endocrinology books that doctors are reading. And I become kind of an autodidact in this industry while I'm working in the police force, because I became a police officer at 21 years old.
Yeah.
Through my law enforcement career, we could probably pull up pictures. You can see I was quite a jacked cop. I had 21-inch arms walking around in police uniform because I was still bodybuilding and still wanting to be a bodybuilder while I was being a police officer. Fast forward to 2018, I leave law enforcement. I go and work for a medical clinic, use my knowledge and my experience in basically my health, wellness, what I've experimented with myself, and I go and work for this company doing sales and marketing. I build this clinic up from 700 patients to almost 4,000 in about 9 months.
Wow.
Become an equity player. And that's when I had the rug pulled out from under me. I found there's a bunch of illegal stuff going on, and I had to leave that company. Had to make a decision, hard one. Do I go back to police work, or do I go and now pursue my dream and take what I've learned and to do and learn not to do, obviously. Don't sell drugs. Bad thing. Don't sell illegal drugs. And take everything that I had, and I basically decided to go the route of business, accidental entrepreneur. Might be a title of a book one day, who knows? But I had to be forced to do this because I wasn't going back to police work. Never. I was done with that career. So I took all my money, all my credit cards, stopped paying my own bills, stopped paying my car payment, stopped paying my mortgage, stopped paying everything, took every penny that I had, didn't pay myself for well over 18 months, basically went damn near broke. I'm talking like couldn't afford $20 in a grocery store, couldn't afford to buy food. But I was so focused on winning in this business, and that's how I started what is now Aspire Rejuvenation Clinic, multi-8-figure valuation, multiple clinics in the U.S., and now opening our first international branch.
Congratulations.
Thank you, brother.
Congratulations.
Yeah. It's a mouthful. It feels like a lot.
It's a success story. It's a success story. And I mean, at 40 years old, obviously, this journey is still beginning.
Sure. Well, I just started it. I just started at 34 years old, so it wasn't long ago.
Of course, yeah. So still very new to the industry in regards and still growing. How are you finding yourself doing business as an entrepreneur aside from the police force? Because completely different industries, right?
It's funny. I think I will write about this one day. I have a goal to write multiple books. I'm in the process of writing my first book. My first book's called Operation Optimal, and it's basically going to be a series of information on how to make the most optimal human, and what I see in medicine and in health and in longevity on how to keep us optimal to not only increase our lifespan, but increase our health span, the time we are healthy and alive. I'm actually talking about this tonight at an event, right?
Tech Tuesdays. I'm
Tech
one
Tuesday.
of the hosts there,
Perfect. So I'm going to be, I assume you're going to be there.
Yes, of course.
So we're going to be there tonight. I'll be talking about this. And that book is going to be about how to get people well again and get away from the mainstream medical system, get away from the mainstream Band-Aid operation that is, hospitals, right? So I'm going to write about all of these things, and one of the things I'm going to write about in another book is my thought process coming from law enforcement officer to CEO, LEO to CEO. Everything that I learned through law enforcement, because think about what a police officer does, especially in America. We have to deal with stress management. We have to deal with crisis. We have to then document. So we become very good at writing. We have to be concise. We learn how to communicate. Not only communicate in one dimension, we have to communicate with multiple dimensions of people in different scenarios, in different walks of life. So you learn these skills that I realized are very essential for entrepreneurs. I can speak with anybody. I really don't get stressed out from business. I'm like, oh, what? This is stressful? I was almost shot in the face 12 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's like,
no comparison.
That was stressful. It's a different type of stress. But I learned how to deal with my stress where I'm not kind of losing my mind, where I think stress and anxiety is one of the biggest downfalls of people.
Yeah, I agree on that. In my lifespan, we all have been stressed in multiple ways. I always stick by one motto: if it's not making me happier, healthier, or wealthier, then goodbye.
Yeah.
And I've been a big believer of that. And I live a very calm life now in Dubai, very stress-free. But business, it's took me 10 years to get to sort of where I am now, business-wise. And like I say, we're always growing. So you've come to Dubai, obviously based in the US, the business Aspire Rejuvenation.
Yes.
Okay. Based in the US.
Correct.
You've come to Dubai. How do you see the health sector and the health and aesthetic sector here? Because if you go down Jumeirah 1, 2, or 3, you are flooded with clinics.
Yes. And you know what I noticed about those clinics? They all look the same. I'm not trying to take a jab. I'm not. But there's a reason that I'm not going to open over there.
Okay.
I'm purposefully not opening a Aspire Rejuvenation clinic next to all the other clinics because our clinic is different. And you mentioned, the wellness, almost every clinic that I see, even the ones that do focus on some wellness, they all do aesthetics.
Yeah.
Everything is superficial.
Yeah.
And I think Dubai is looking for Dubai and the UAE in general, they're looking to make a little bit of a healthcare revolution, I think. They want to bring in medical tourism. They want to look at wellness. They want to look at anti-aging. They want to look at these things in a different way because whether anybody in the world that watches this wants to admit it or not, the UAE and Dubai, trendsetting everywhere. From architecture, from tech, from AI, from crypto adoption, anything that you can think of, it's almost always being done first here.
Correct, yeah.
So with the medical technology, I think they fell behind a little bit on looking at anti-aging and looking at wellness, and they're very big on aesthetics, very big on the superficial side, yeah?
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Aesthetics is not healthcare.
No. And I don't do it.
No.
I have one clinic that does it on the side. We don't even really advertise it.
Yeah.
We just offer for patients that are like, well, we want to come here to get a little bit of Botox here and there.
Yeah, yeah.
But most of it is basically internal wellness. Me and you were talking before the camera was rolling. You said, I'm mad about anti-aging, vitamins and the collagen production, things like that. So what I do with everybody when they ask, well, what do you really do? How do I know if I need this? I tell everybody to kind of turn the clock back. Think about when you were 18 to 25. How'd you feel? Amazing, right? I mean, nobody, unless you were a complete worthless slob doing nothing,
Yeah.
you felt great.
Yeah.
I remember, I'll give you a story. I was 19 years old or 20 years old, and I was skiing. I don't ski, by the way, as a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
I'm skiing, and I went with a bunch of college friends of mine, and the first mountain we go down was a Black Diamond. Are you familiar?
Yeah, I've skied for 20 years, yeah.
Perfect. So I suck at skiing, bro.
Yeah.
So you understand what going down.
Yeah.
I go down a bunny hill 3 times, then I go down a Black Diamond.
Yeah.
Idiot, right? But I'm 20, so you're an idiot. I go down all the way down the hill, but I don't go down basically on my feet. I'm pretty much falling. I'm falling down this
Down a black slope,
down this entire mountain, right? So I'm falling down this mountain, and I remember getting up. I'm like, wow, I still feel all right. Feel good. Went about my day. I thought about that not too long ago because I was telling the story. I'm like, wow. I was 39 when I told this story. I just turned 40 a week ago. So at 40 years old, if that happened, a lot of things are breaking.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be sore and I'm going to be hurting. Why? What was the difference between then and now? And also your skin, your hair, your muscles, the leanness of your body. You do 5 push-ups when you're 19 years old, chest is popping.
Yeah.
You have to do 5,000 push-ups now to get your chest popping at 40, right? So what's the difference? Your hormones. Everything internal. Your growth hormone levels, your testosterone levels if you're a man. Women do have testosterone, by the way.
Estrogen, right?
Well, their main hormones are estrogen and progesterone, but women need testosterone. By the way, did you know that men also need estrogen?
I didn't know that. No.
You have to have it. If you tank a man's estrogen to 0, male will have no sex drive. There's a balance point.
Yeah.
There's a balance point. Let's say, and these are not real numbers, but let's say it's 10 to 1. So you have to have a level 10 testosterone for a man to be optimal. You need a level 1 estrogen. For women, it's almost the exact opposite.
Yeah.
But men work on a 24-hour cycle when it comes to hormones. Women work on a 28-day cycle.
Yeah.
We all know that time of the month comes for a woman. They're a blast, aren't they? Why did that happen? It's because their hormones are going crazy because they're either ovulating or they're going through their menstrual cycle. For men, we're 24 hours. What does that tell you? We're completely opposite. We're not equal, guys.
No.
Whoa, here we go. Here's the curveball. Now cancel me. Fine. We're not equal. We're completely opposite. So when you look at hormones, what was the difference between you at 22, 25, 18 compared to now? Why do you get wrinkles? Why does your hair turn gray? Why do you have vision problems? Why is it harder to get in shape? Why do you start having mental health things going on, right? Depression, anxiety. What did they used to, you ever hear the term midlife crisis?
I have, yeah.
In men?
Of course, yeah.
Sure, everybody has.
Yeah.
So you ever hear the term menopause? Everybody knows what menopause is in women.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what the male equivalent is. They used to call it midlife crisis. When a man goes crazy, he divorces his wife for 20 years, buys a speedboat or a Corvette.
Motorbike,
You know what it is.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, gets divorced, gets a young
Gets divorced.
woman,
That's right. Gets a younger woman because he's looking for something he doesn't even know what to equate it with. He thinks it has to be a change in his life. It's actually the male equivalent of female's menopause, called andropause. It's the declination to a certain point of testosterone in a man. When your testosterone gets down to a certain level, you will not only start to gain belly fat, you will start to lose muscle mass, you will start to have mental health issues. Okay, so you're going to start to have depression, anxiety issues. Why is that happening? Because, all right, you're familiar with cars. Anybody familiar with cars? Take the oil out of a car or have low oil in a car. What starts to happen?
The engine will...
It'll destroy itself.
Yeah.
What's happening in your body? Your
Agreed,
testosterone is the oil in your car.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a healthcare specialist, far from it, or a human hormone specialist. But males, we already have testosterone in our body.
Of course.
Right? So if you enhance them, surely you're enhancing your hormone levels to make you feel good about yourself, to make you look good. I've used different substances over the years.
Sure.
And like I say, it's finding that balance to make yourself feel good is where I see it.
So there's differences in what you're going to do for, let's say, testosterone in general. There are agonists that will make you increase your natural testosterone level. Then there's taking exogenous testosterone, which is taking testosterone itself.
Yeah.
Neither one is wrong. Neither one is right. It depends on the person. It also depends on your situation, your lab work, and your history. Everybody goes through a decline in testosterone at some point in their life.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is like a silver lining in my industry.
Yeah.
But eventually, every single man will need testosterone therapy.
Okay.
That's fact. Just like every single woman will go through menopause. And you want to know the cure to all menopausal symptoms? Increasing their hormones.
Increase your hormones, yeah.
It's literally optimizing your hormone levels. Because have you seen a woman go through menopause?
No, I mean, you're averaging around that 50 years old range. You get.
But have you heard of the symptoms?
I've heard the symptoms. Yeah.
They basically, I mean, you can hear this from husbands of women that are going through this. Like, I lost my wife.
Yeah.
She's lost her mind. She's depressed. She's anxious. She doesn't want to have sex. This, that. I'm like, I know. Get her into the clinic.
Yeah.
I get her into the clinic, and we optimize her hormones. And she literally, within weeks, he's like, "Whoa, you brought my wife back."
Brilliant.
And he's like, "By the way, whatever you're doing to her, I can't keep up because she's chasing me around the house wanting to have sex all the time." Then he comes into the office and he's like, "Oh, I have kind of lower testosterone." Now they're chasing each other.
Yeah.
We just saved a marriage.
Brilliant.
It's so simple, but this is what medical tech really is. Yeah. Medical tech is simple. Now, are we going to use AI? Are we going to use different systems of finding out what these problems are?
So you're a relationship counselor as well.
Basically. I mean, one of the most important things about relationships is what?
Sex.
It is what it is.
85%.
85. Almost every problem that happens during a relationship is sexually related. Right? So someone's not getting it, or not getting enough of it, or someone's seeking something else. We help save relationships.
100%.
I always
say in relationships, if you are not sexually compatible, it's not going to last.
Just let it go.
Let it go. Let it go.
There's how many billion people in the world?
8 billion.
Yeah. So, there's no point in hanging on to something that you know is wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Dubai specifically, for the UAE specifically, they were so hyper-focused on the outer appearance, the aesthetic appearance. And then I start telling men and women, I'm like, with a few peptides and some optimized HRT, some optimal hormones, these peptides that'll help your collagen production. We were talking about collagen. I don't take collagen. Do you know what? I've never had Botox or fillers or anything in my life. I don't know if I'm sure I have some wrinkles. I'm 40 years old. I should. But do I have as many wrinkles as some people? Probably not.
No.
Why? My growth hormone levels are optimal. My hormone levels are optimal. Well, what does growth hormone in your body do? Increases your collagen production.
Of course, yeah.
It's such a simple equation. And I tell people all the time, they're like, well, why aren't normal doctors doing this? I said, I don't know. I said, I'm happy and I'm not happy. I'm happy that they're not because I have an industry that I love and I can thrive in and I can build for my family and for the people out there. But if doctors did their jobs, my industry wouldn't exist.
0x Processing are focused mainly on two things: acceptance rate and security, achieving an unprecedented level by combining proprietary blockchain infrastructure with broad account security measures. 0x Processing, crypto payments for your business. So what about the substance of GH, human growth hormone? Would you recommend that to?
It depends. So everybody's going to go through a decline in growth hormone levels, right?
Yeah.
Now, I suggest that people go a more quote-unquote natural route and use something like a peptide agonist. CJC 1295, ipamorelin, sermorelin, tesamorelin. These are all agonists that will increase your natural pituitary function. So what it does is basically an amino acid chain. Peptides are amazing, by the way. And there are some clinics doing it here. I think they could do it better. But the point is that they're already here in Dubai. They're already here in the UAE. We're just going to bring them to the forefront.
Okay.
That's my plan. These peptides will hit your pituitary gland, and they basically trigger it with a set of amino acids and say, increase growth hormone levels. So you take it at night. That's when your growth hormone pulses. And then you start increasing your growth hormone levels naturally. Now, some people have pituitary function problems, or when you get to a certain age, your pituitary won't be stimulated in the same way. So let's say if you're 60, you may need to take actual exogenous growth hormone, which is called somatropin. There's no problem with it as long as you don't abuse it.
Agreed. But then, I mean, I've looked into this topic. It's very interesting, this conversation, by the way. And now, if you look at the plus sides of it, it can grow your hair cells, it grows your nails, etc. But then there's also downsides of it, that it can increase your organ sizes and stuff. What's your thoughts on that?
That's the abuse point.
Okay.
That's an abuse point. So, you know, if I see the same thing, I see the same arguments like testosterone with growth hormone with some of these things. Well, they're like, well, testosterone, you know, they take testosterone away when people have prostate cancer and they are quitting it. Testosterone causes prostate cancer. Growth hormone causes cancer to grow. I said, well, if that was the case, every 15, 16, 17-year-old person that has hormone levels through the roof, including growth hormone levels, 20x what we would have in our 30s,
sure.
They would all have cancer and prostate cancer. They don't.
Yeah,
those don't cause the problems. Now, if you have active cancer, you should not take growth hormone because it can exacerbate, because it can grow cells. So this is why you do blood work. This is why you make sure that people are healthy. This is why you do genetic scans. You do all these tests first. And that's what I feel like has been kind of missing here, especially in the UAE, which is why I'm so excited about it. Because when I came here and I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, there's people doing stem cells. There's some people doing peptides. There's some people doing HRT. Fine. And then I'm looking at how they're doing it. I'm like, well, this guy's doing it kind of cookie cutter. These people I don't even know where the stem cells are coming from. I had a friend who got stem cell therapy in his knee. Paid $7,000 plus US. Good money for a couple injections in your knee.
Yeah.
I asked him, I said, oh, that's great. I said, how you feeling? He's like, I don't really feel anything. It's interesting. I said, do you know where they came from? So they said somewhere in Colombia. First red flag. Because if they didn't ship it in a cryo freezer over here, then it's dead.
It's dead, yeah.
You have 1 hour from freezing.
Wow.
So we store it minus, sub 100 Celsius in a freezer. Freezer's like $8,000.
Wow, okay.
So as soon as you take it out, you have an hour and it's dead.
Interesting.
So I asked him, I said, oh, okay, well, we'll figure that out. We'll call them together. And then I said, what imaging device do they use? You know, ultrasound, something.
Yeah.
He's like, no, what do you mean an imaging device? I'm like, did they just put it in your knee and just inject it? He said, yeah. I said, oh my God.
Wow.
This is one of the best stem cell companies in the UAE. So 1, I'm disappointed. 2, I'm like, opportunity. Because I'm a businessman.
Okay. So you're a businessman within the healthcare sector, which is flooded with competition. Flooded. People's looking for the best way to stay young, the most valuable way of staying young, because as we all know, healthcare is not cheap. Okay, especially in the US.
Sure.
Now you come to UAE. How is Aspire Rejuvenation Clinic different from the rest?
We look at people from an individual perspective, where a lot of clinics don't. And this is the same thing in the US. When I was talking about the testosterone therapy, if me and you and our buddy behind the camera over here, if all 3 of us walk into certain clinics, we may get lab work done. We may all say that we need testosterone. Let's say we are all considered low T.
Yeah.
We're all walking out the same dose. This happens all the time.
So we would all need the same dosage of hormones in our body? No, because everyone's different, right?
We have twin brothers that come to a clinic of ours in the US.
Wow.
And their lives are not outrageously dissimilar. One has a little bit more stressful job, one doesn't. One has a little more stressful wife, one doesn't. One has more kids, one doesn't. One works out more, one doesn't. But they're twins, genetically identical. They have wildly different hormone profiles, wildly.
Yeah.
So it's a disservice to the community, to the patients, to look at this in a cookie cutter way. But unfortunately, that's what the mainstream medical system does anyway. Me and you come through with high blood pressure. Here's high blood pressure medication. We come through with, we're looking at root causes. So what Aspire Rejuvenation Clinic is going to do is we're going to focus on the root cause issues of everybody's health. And I want, and not only that, last time you went to a doctor, how long did you spend with a doctor?
Can't remember last time I went to a doctor, but yeah.
More than likely less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, if that. Yeah.
If that. Yeah. The average patient interaction with a medical doctor in a emergency or a normal hospital or a clinic is 7 minutes per visit. You have 45 minutes with a consultation with our doctors. 45 minutes, and you go over everything from every panel, every lab panel, every diagnostic that we do. We go over your history, we go over your wants, your needs, your desires, everything. So when you walk out of that appointment, of that consultation, you're walking out empowered with the amount of information that you've probably never seen in medicine. Because we want you to live longer. We want to optimize you. That's the difference in what we're doing. We're taking data from diagnostics and we're building a plan and a map for our patients to, by the way, we're not going to be charging membership fees like normal clinics either. What we do a little bit different. People called me crazy when I did this in the industry. We take this data and let's say you're done. Okay, I'm the doctor. Hey, you're done. Here you go. Here's your data. Here's what we suggest. Here's your lab work. What would you like to do? Which means, what did I just do? I gave the power to the patient. I gave you the power to make your own health decisions, which nobody does in medicine anymore.
They would be advising you, you need this.
You need this. You need this. You need this.
And you need
Here's
this
your script.
You need this option. It's the most expensive option, but this is the one you should take. Yeah.
What we do is we offer, here's what we suggest. Here's some options for each different one.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah. A few places I've been to in the UAE for Botox, not mentioning no names, but for Botox, and it's always an upsell. Always an upsell.
Because it's more profit-based than patient-based.
Yeah. Yeah.
We look at patients over profits. And I know it sounds counterintuitive as an entrepreneur and a businessman, but it's honest.
Yeah.
It's honest. And when you do that, you're going to feel better as a patient.
Yeah.
I don't want to upsell you. And not only that, I will deny you from a company standpoint. We have denied people. Like, let's say you're friends with me, and I suggest that you come into the clinic, and I'm on growth hormone because I need it. And you're like, hey, Tomo looks great. I want to be on growth hormone. Well, you don't qualify. I'll pay for it anyway. No, you won't. Because we don't care what you really want. I hate to say it like that. We care about you being healthy and living longer and living healthier and living more optimal.
Correct.
I'm not going to let you harm yourself for profit,
Yeah.
which is what clinics do all the time. And it's very sad to me.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. So you're obviously clearly very knowledgeable in the market. Your beliefs, your thoughts is exactly the same as I think. We already have hormones in our body. We're just enhancing them to make us feel better.
That's it.
And I've lived by that motto for years and years. So this conversation is very engaging for me. But let's take it back. Let's go back to sort of where we're looking at 12 years in the police force, in the law enforcement agent officer.
Yes.
In the police force, in the US. That must have been interesting.
Fun times. Yeah. You know, I remember them, and it didn't seem crazy to me at the time. It didn't seem so outlandish at the time, but it was. I mean, I did some crazy things. Have you ever heard the term shit magnet?
I've heard it, but it can mean a lot of different things, but yeah.
So shit magnet. Yeah, I was called a shit magnet. Like I didn't have a normal law enforcement career where, you know, there was a thing when I got into law enforcement. This is 2007. I got into law enforcement, young man. And the idea was that most police officers never pull their weapon. Most police officers never encounter a shooting situation, dangerous situations, all these things, which is true in the large scale of things. I wasn't that one. I pulled my weapon a lot. I've been in extremely dangerous situations. I've almost been killed multiple times.
Wow.
I was a young police officer. I was maybe 20, maybe 23, maybe 24 at the most. And I remember being on the phone, and I just started my shift. I worked midnight shift pretty much my whole career. And I just started my shift, and I was on the phone with my mother.
Interesting times.
Yes.
I'll be on that watch.
Yeah. So the midnight shift was my favorite.
Okay.
It was my favorite because it was the hot time.
When everything goes wrong. Yeah.
It was when anything that happens after 10 p.m., most people's mothers have said this. Anything happens after midnight is no good. They're pretty right.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Which is why we did it when we were kids.
Yeah.
So I was on the phone with my mother, and I remember there was a call for a house fire. And my mom jokingly said on the phone, she said, "Hey, you're a police officer, not a firefighter. Make sure you don't go running in the building." Ha, 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 Mom, I'm not an idiot. I hang up. I get there. First thing that I see is one police officer car on the scene, but I don't see anybody. And then I hear women screaming in the house. So what do? I run into the building, of course.
Yeah.
So we end up saving 3 women, a couple dogs, and a cat, and ended up getting a Medal of Valor.
Wow.
For this. And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, no, I just do my job.
Congratulations.
It did. Thank you, brother. Yeah, but it didn't.
So you put your life at risk to save other people.
Always.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what we're supposed to do. You know, that's what police officers are supposed to do. That's what anybody in the protective services or first responders, you're supposed to do that. And I really get bummed out when I see people that demonize police. And it doesn't happen so much over here. Sometimes in Europe, UK a little bit, US very much so.
Yeah.
Police officers are demonized. They're put down so much.
There is quite a bit of bad rep of police officers in the US.
Of course.
Obviously, there's a lot of gun crime. What's your thoughts on Donald Trump?
I like him for business. I'm conservative politically. So politically, I'm conservative. Socially, I don't care. I'm more libertarian than anything.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I have to look at both sides of the equation. So let's talk about that politics side, right? We're getting into, so wait, are we going to do religion here too? We're going to throw in every single one of them?
Well, we can just spoil in everything. We've gone from healthcare, testosterone, now we're on Donald Trump. Listen, it's an open forum.
I love this.
Yeah, I love
this.
Yeah.
This is how conversations really happen.
Yeah.
So we had Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Okay. Policy-wise, for me as a business owner, clearly Donald Trump's winning every category.
Yeah.
From the monetary side, right? Socially, I think that, again, I have to choose. What am I choosing? You know, and then from a political perspective of strength of the United States, because I have a daughter there, I have family there. Kamala Harris was laughed at basically by most of the international community.
Yeah.
So my only choice is this. Unfortunately, it's become such a separated dual party system that there is no middle ground for people to vote for anymore.
No.
It's hyper left, it's hyper right. They both have crazy ideas, and you have to choose one of them. And that's why the United States becomes so separate. You know, but I also see the same things in a lot of places in Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see the same thing in the UK, yeah? You know, so you see some of the same things in Australia, although one is winning way over the other. Where the US, the pendulum has been swinging back and forth.
Yeah, the UK, very similar. I mean, Europe in general, I mean, listen, there's crises in the US. There's crises all over the place.
Of course.
I mean, we do live, well, I live, and I've lived for over 6 years now, in the most safest country in the world.
100%.
Now, there are downfalls to it. We're currently sat here in the middle of summer, and it must be nearly 45 degrees outside, and it's unbearable. But
I still had a suit on.
yeah, everywhere is AC to the max.
Yeah.
It's the cleanest country I've ever seen. It's still 0% personal tax. In general, you cannot fault it. It is ran by, Dubai is a company, and it's ran by CEOs and leaders that actually care about that company.
Sure.
And I learned that saying from a good friend of mine, Tonye. I'm sure he'll be watching this. He's been here for over 17 years, and he said Dubai is a company. And
that's a very smart way of putting it.
And he really is. It's a company. It's run by a CEO, Al Maktoum, who loves his company, and he abides by that company and the way it's being run. You haven't got governments dictating this and that, and outsiders giving their input. It's either you've got two options in the UAE. You either sponsor yourself or you get sponsored by a company.
Yeah.
You are a sponsored resident here in one way or another.
Yeah.
You do not have the entitlement of an Emirati. You are not an Emirati. All right. You will never have a passport. And that is the way it will stay, because it's run as a company and they look after their own. This is the problem where the US, Europe, the UK, and many, many other countries have downfalled.
Sure.
And that was a big statement.
Listen, I wanted to sit here and applaud the whole time.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It's 100% accurate. Now, what's your opinion on Donald Trump? Because that's how people view Donald Trump as a CEO of the country.
Yeah.
Because he runs things very much like a business.
Yeah.
Almost ruthlessly like a business. I don't agree with all the things he does, by the way.
I think he's ruthless. I I'm a big Trump fan. I think anyone that stands as a man, and how a man should be and a man should behave, rights of people, I'm not racist at all. I'm just saying, but if you're going to be in a country, whatever country you're going to be in through the world, and you're not going to deliver goodness or value to that country, then you shouldn't be there.
And all right? So here's the funny thing. I want to ask you. I want to give you the devil's advocate side, because I hear this all the time. And obviously, I voted for Trump every time. I'm a fan of him. I've met him. I've been to his home.
Wow.
He's very interesting. But he is a very masculine, very tall, very powerful, very boisterous, and he's a New Yorker.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, he's. Can we swear on here? A little bit. He's a jerk. I'm not going to say it. So we'll say that.
If you class that as swearing, yeah.
So all right, I was going to say something else, but we're going to stick with jerk. They're like, he's a jerk. I'm like, he's from New York.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in New York? Yeah. You're getting sworn at by everybody. This is normal. This is normal New York behavior. Yeah. But when I look at people that are on the opposite side of the spectrum, and I do have friends that are on the opposite side of the spectrum, although they separate themselves a little bit from me at this point, and they say, well, what has Donald Trump done so good? And I'm like, this is very clear to me. They see it the exact opposite. They see all these things as detriments. I'm just like, how can there be such a dichotomy in the belief system, in where the country is going and where it needs to go? They believe that the things that Kamala Harris was going to do were good for the country. I'm like, how? I look at it as damn near insane.
Yeah.
You know, but I like that there isn't that here. Here in the UAE, it's very clear what's right and wrong. Where in the US, it's very based on opinion.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I always say this theory regarding the US. I love the US. All right, yeah. I do love the States. Spent a lot of time in the States.
You've lived there,
yeah. I'm living out there and spent a lot of time. I think I've been to over 25 states of the US. So I've traveled
more than most Americans.
Yeah, and I think like 70% of Americans don't even have a passport, right? So, well, they've got the cities. That
drives me nuts. That drives me nuts.
Yeah.
So you know,
yeah,
that drives me nuts when people say that.
When I first came to the UAE, 2014, not living, vacation, you would never find an American. The Americans were very scared of coming to the Gulf, especially investing in the Gulf.
They still are.
Yeah.
They still are at a large majority.
And,
we're not normal.
And with what's just happened a month ago or a few weeks ago, even worse.
You have no idea how many messages I got because I was here.
Yeah.
They're like, how? They're like, oh, are you okay? Is ever like, are you able to fly out? Are you going to be able to get home?
Yeah. I'm
like, guys, I was on a rooftop. Yeah. I was smoking a cigar. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know what's going on.
Of course.
UAE in general and Dubai in general. Because can you explain? Because you've been here for a little longer than I have. Can you explain UAE to people and then Dubai to people? Because they think they're all the same thing.
No.
So it's different governments.
So yeah, there's different governments, but the UAE alone, obviously Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Fujairah, Sharjah, Ras Al Khaimah. Okay. Now these emirates, there's not really much activity. All right. Abu Dhabi is very, very, very local, very quiet. They are expanding it now. Disney World is coming there. You've got the F1 racetrack there. And see, it is becoming a lot more. But the infrastructure is Dubai.
Yes.
I always say Dubai is the Las Vegas of the Middle East, right? But now they're building a casino in Ras Al Khaimah.
I saw.
Why are they doing that? Which is the Wynn, which is an American brand, okay? Why are they building it in Ras Al Khaimah and not in Dubai? Any idea?
I would assume that they want to spread it.
Expand their emirates.
Yeah, they want to spread the love.
They
want to spread the love and the money.
100%. Expand the emirates. It's too developed everything's developed in Dubai.
Sure.
If you look at it, it just looks like Las Vegas. It's one big strip, Sheikh Zayed Road, with hotels everywhere, and all the glamorous.
Traffic is getting crazy.
Traffic's getting crazy. That is downfall. So what do they want to do? Push all the traffic out of Dubai into Ras Al Khaimah. Sharjah is still very local, zero alcohol there.
Sure.
So
I like Sharjah though.
Yeah, it's very quiet. It's very,
to get away, it's nice.
I believe that Ras Al Khaimah will be the next Miami.
Interesting.
When you look at Marjan Island, what they're building, the Wynn Casino, you've got Nikki Beach developing there. The address is going to be there. It's the water up there is closer to the Indian Ocean, so it's not the Gulf. It's not the Gulf Sea.
Sure.
So because Dubai water is not that clear.
No.
Right. You go to Ras Al Khaimah, completely different.
Really.
Crystal clear water. right? Because you're closer to obviously to the Atlantic,
Okay.
to the Indian
Ocean,
sorry.
yeah.
So you can see, listen, it's run as a company.
Yeah.
They're very, very smart. What is best for the company?
Sure. So in the UAE, you have these different emirates.
Yep.
So the way that I can equate it, and most of your viewers and followers, I'm sure, are UAE based, UK based, probably Euro based. Yeah. Most of my followers are in the US still.
Yeah.
That'll change as I migrate over here, right?
Of course, yeah.
But most of my US followers are like, well, I don't understand. Is UAE Dubai? Is Dubai UAE? I said, think of it as states. But the states have more governmental power. They run themselves.
They've been allowed more power.
Yes. Okay.
Which has become an issue.
Okay. So in the UAE in general, there is a federal government.
Yeah.
And that's ran mostly out of...
It's run by the government of the UAE.
Got it.
Right? So yes.
But Dubai has its own government as well.
Correct. There are different parties in different emirates.
Sure.
Right? But the whole region as alone as the UAE is governed under one law.
Okay.
All right. And the laws are actually, as you come through the airport, the UAE laws are actually on the wall.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're written by Al Maktoum himself. So yeah, it's the best city in the world.
Yeah.
It's the best country in the world. I'm very patriot about being here. It's my home. It's the best airline in the world. Emirates is the best airline
By
in the
far.
world. By far.
By far.
Okay.
If you don't want to spend the money constantly, don't ever fly Emirates first class because you will never fly another airline again.
It's better than private, right? Unless you're flying. Yeah.
Unless you have like a 737 yourself, unless you're a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
Emirates first class is the best experience you will ever have.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree. I mean, you can't knock Qatar Airlines, but Emirates is the best airline in the world.
I heard Singapore's nice too as well.
Singapore Airlines is nice. Etihad's great. But you cannot be what they have built in 50 years, what they have done and what is expanding to be.
Sure.
It's a great hub from the world, all right? Asia, Europe, a little bit challenging for the US, but it's
I have a direct flight from Orlando, brother.
Directly also we do a lot of business out in Brazil, in Sao Paulo.
There you go.
Direct 17 hours. I do that once a year. So it's a great hub.
Yeah.
It has the A380s, which you can get there. We can get to anywhere you want to go.
We're still in the 777s in Orlando. Somebody in Orlando Airport, please fix this.
Okay.
Please fix this immediately.
Well, you do the A380s. It's different level.
I did. So I went A380 to Egypt and then to Europe.
Yeah. And you're like, why have the US not got these?
I'm like, this is ridiculous. The US is backed up.
Unbelievable. But yeah, I praise the UAE with a passion, and I'm a big believer in it and what is to come.
I call it. So my family immigrated. I'm first generation American, by the way. I'm 100% Croatian. My family immigrated from former Yugoslavia. If you're familiar with the war in the 90s, horrible, very bad. A lot of people died. A lot of my family died in those wars, and they immigrated to the U.S. we're talking about the 60s and 70s. At that time, America was the land of opportunity. That's where you went to make money. That's where you went to find success. That's where you went to make yourself, right? Yeah. You had the opportunity to build whatever you wanted if you could work, if you knew how to work and hustle and grind and get yourself into a better position. It's been harder and harder to do that in America. And the UAE, I feel, is the new land of opportunity.
Agreed.
I
but
think
the US still stands very strong. I mean, your top 10 companies in the world, bar Samsung, are all US based, right?
Of course it does. It's still strong.
Yeah.
But I feel like the UAE is becoming what the US was maybe in the 60s and 70s.
Correct.
Because innovation is happening in the UAE.
Innovation, population.
Population.
I mean, you got 400 million people in the US. You got 3.5 million people here.
There's so much migration here.
Yeah.
But they have to build the infrastructure first to get those people in.
Yeah. But while we're building that infrastructure, what does that come with? Opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I'm able to come and bring my medical side here.
Yeah.
You know, that's not normal. Because for me to go to the UK, it's a disaster to try to build my company there. And taxes are horrible.
Taxes, yeah. It's
EU,
challenging.
EU, same thing. Asia, same thing. I can't even go to Canada. Canada, although, has become a communist country, so it's this different, my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm able to come into the UAE, and because I'm doing things in an honorable and a honest way, I'm welcomed with open arms.
For sure.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Where, and I love the U.S. Don't get me wrong. I grew up there. I was born in the U.S., so I'm a U.S. citizen. But to do business in the U.S., anybody can do business with the amount of money. Anybody can interact, and even if you're a bad person, you can do bad things here, and then you can still do business here.
Correct.
In the UAE, your honor and integrity means so much that if you screw somebody here in the UAE, you're out.
100%.
I love that.
And coming obviously as an ex-police police enforcement officer, an ex-police officer, if you do not abide by the rules here, this is not the UK. This is not the US.
You're out.
You're out, or you serious punishments.
Or serious punishments. Yeah, well, we've seen that. Right. There's, I mean, the drug crimes here are punished severely.
Yeah. Any crime that is serious punishments. This is where the problem is, especially the UK and the US. They have become weak.
I hate to agree with you. It hurts me to agree with you.
From powerhouses of the world, they've become weak,
yes.
and people take advantage of that. You take advantage of the laws here, and you think that you're above. You'll be very much assured. Not.
Sure. It's but I love that. Yeah. I love that because it builds a sense of security. In the U.S., I'm not a law enforcement officer anymore, but in the U.S., you will never see me sit in a restaurant or a building or anywhere with my back to a door.
Yeah.
I will always sit strategic.
Yeah, of course.
In the UAE, it's the only place I've ever been to. I still do it in Europe. In the UAE, I almost never think about it. Yeah. Where I'm not concerned. I may do it instinctually without thinking, but I'm not concerned. That's amazing.
Of course.
The safety, the security, the peace here is different.
Tomo, I think you're a very interesting guy. I think the conversation we've had so far are very engaging. I like your feedback, your views on things.
Thank you.
I want to ask you one last final question, which I know you're a crypto enthusiast. What's your thoughts on cryptocurrency?
I love it. I'm involved currently. I'm a executive partner and director of partner management in a company called Goliath Ventures Inc. So we basically are running some things in the blockchain, some liquidity pools. We have some mining operations, not just in the U.S., but also in the UAE. Yep. Believe it or not, we started here in the UAE. Our CEO, Chris Delgado, I became very good friends with him. No business whatsoever when we became friends, which I love.
Yeah.
That's how I do things here as well. I became friends with him. Like you and I are friends. We're going to probably do business together in some capacity because I love the conversation that we have. So in crypto specifically, I've lost money in crypto, buying and selling, of course. But I've also made money in crypto, being involved with this company, Goliath Ventures, and being more of a provisioner in the cryptocurrency space, such as in the mining operations, in liquidity pools, in different things that are developing infrastructure, right? That's where I think crypto is going to be making money for people. The days of you bought Bitcoin at 10,000, now it's 90,000, like that's over. The pump and dump meme coins, the meme coins, I think are. Yeah, you're gambling.
Do you believe in meme coins?
But I've made money on them. I've made money on meme coins. I'm not going to lie, but it is kind of gambling. We do talk about gambling. We are on Bet Talks.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
So there's some gambling involved there, but from a strategic investment strategy for companies, do you think I'm not going to accept crypto in my medical clinics? Of course I am.
Of course.
Everything's digital anyway.
Yeah.
Pull up your bank account on your phone. What is that? It's digital.
Yeah.
Go try to take out, and it's different in the UAE than it is in the US. I always have to equate the US because I'm used to. People in America, go and take out or ask to take out $50,000 from your bank account.
What's that for? What you're using it for? Where
you will get so much red tape, and they will even deny you.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, in the UK, it's even worse.
I'm sure.
Even worse.
But if I want to take 50K out from, or if I want to use 50K, and I have it in Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDC, USDT, any of these, Solana, and I have this, I can transfer to you in seconds.
Cryptocurrency has become the fastest form of payment transaction the world's ever seen.
Banks are adopting it. This is real. This is real money now. Where before it was more speculative, and people are like, well, how are we gauging its worth? What is making Bitcoin worth X amount? It's 107, I think, right now, or somewhere close to there. What is making it worth that? Because it's not real. It's not a real thing. I said, is your money real? I said, what's your US dollar based on? It's not the gold standard anymore. So what's it based on? It's based on the speculation of value from the marketplace.
Yeah, of course.
That's what everything's based on.
Digital figures on your account.
That's everything is this coffee cup is worth $5 because the marketplace has demanded it.
Yeah.
This bag, which is very expensive, from my friend Jewel at Custom Made Reality here in Dubai, who makes my clothes as well. This is very expensive. Why? Why is Himalaya croc expensive?
Yeah.
Because the marketplace demanded it.
Of course.
Because it's rare.
It's rare, yeah.
Same with Bitcoin. Same with Ethereum. There's only so many.
There's peaks and troughs in everything. Now, I've been around the cryptocurrency space since 2017. I've seen a lot of changes. The likes of the ICO market, which was the big crash. Then you had the NFTs, and now you've got these meme tokens.
Some people lost a lot on NFTs, brother.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of change. There's been a lot of hype. Okay. There's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of, there's been a lot of loss.
Yeah.
Now, still an unregulated market. There are licensing coming into play, such as VARA license, etc., in the UAE. Now, if you look at meme coins, I do think it's making a bit of a mockery on the market.
Agreed.
Now, if you went to a NASDAQ-listed company and the New York Stock Exchange and you went, excuse me, I have a new company and it's a meme token, they're going to say to you, get the fuck out of here. Right?
Pretty much.
Right. So, in the grand scheme of things...
It's unicorn, what is it? Unicorn whatever.
In the grand scheme of things, I'm a businessman, and if I don't see any kind of value usage, right, or actual reality of this, I believe that Bitcoin is around forever.
Okay.
But if you look at Dog with Hat coin,
Yeah.
would you put money into that?
No. I have. I have when I've gotten some early tips. I'm not going to lie.
So it's gambling.
It's gambling. But I didn't put my whole bank account into this.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't put $500,000 in this and then I hope this works. No, it's stupid. No. You put 10K in and oh wow, did I double my money? Great. But I'm also not greedy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and think this is going to go up 800x. But then also, how are you going to pull it out?
Yeah.
There's no liquidity backing it.
Correct.
It's not even tangible tokens.
No. So there's no low liquidity, so there's no actual value in that token.
Correct. And that's what people forget.
It's made on a belief, on a hype.
And that's what people forget.
Yeah.
And then when you see things with actual institutional usage, Bitcoin, Ethereum, what's your thought on Ethereum? I think Ethereum is...
Well, everything runs on the Ethereum network,
Correct.
apart from Solana now. So
Correct.
It's got competition. Okay.
The only problem with Solana is what? It's riddled with meme coins.
Yeah.
They need to get a control of that.
So when I first got into cryptocurrency, there was no such thing as USDT. It was around, but it was never used.
Sure.
It was Ethereum. There was Binance.
Binance
was very, very low. There was Coinbase.
Coinbase, yeah.
There was none of this Phantom Wallet, none of these meme coins, none of these NFTs, none of it.
Yeah.
So I was very unlucky, but listen, we live and learn, and I can remember getting paid Ethereum. Ethereum was $70, right? So I technically am an OG. If you crash,
You are.
Right?
You're definitely an OG in the crypto market.
But I know about the market. I
Sure.
know about it. I've been around it. I've heard a lot of stuff, and I beg to believe on a lot of stuff. I just think that me as a businessman, as an entrepreneur like yourself, I don't want to be around any business that involves Dog with Hat coin, right?
Yeah.
If USDT Tether crashed tomorrow, the whole market is finished.
And it's depegged before.
It's depegged. It's dropped below the dollar, for sure. If Tether crashes tomorrow, I'll repeat this, the cryptocurrency market is over. All right, that's a fact. All right, because that's where your liquidity is.
Sure.
Right, and that's what's running the market.
Sure.
I just think that there's a lot of dreamers out there that are pushing a lot of stuff where the rich get rich and the dumb money loses.
That's always how it is. In everything.
Yeah.
In everything.
Yeah.
Which is why I tell people to be very careful. Be very careful. I think Bitcoin is a good bet. We're going to talk about bets. I think if you're betting, could something happen?
Yeah.
Could the entire crypto market crash? And could regulation destroy it? Could.
I think on usability, the Ethereum, because everything runs on the Ethereum network, is probably the biggest cryptocurrency in the world, right?
I think so. Yeah. And I've spoken to a couple of the OGs, the guys who developed Ethereum. A couple guys are in Miami, actually, in Florida. And that's where, by the way, my Goliath Ventures company that I'm involved in, we're mostly doing liquidity in the Ethereum marketplace.
Right.
So, Ethereum USDC back and forth, and then, staking certain things. But again, Bitcoin, I think, is never going to go away. I agree with you. Ethereum, I think, is never going to go away. I hope. Because there's so much that's involved. Ethereum basically runs everything.
Yeah.
the Solanas, the meme coins, the wallet this, the wallet that, the unicorn dog with hat coin.
Yeah.
Guys, if you're investing in this, we're on Bet Talks. I get it. You can take some bets. Don't put your whole life savings into dog with hat coin.
Of course, yeah.
You know, and obviously I'm never going to accept that in my medical clinics. You're never going to accept that in any business that you're in.
Yeah.
But I do think that, you know, from a storage of value perspective, Bitcoin is 100% here to stay. Yeah. I think Ethereum, because of its utility and the different methods that, you know, is working, the different ways Ethereum works and the different tokens in Ethereum network work, I think there's actual utility for sending money back and forth, bank transactions, large scale transactions for corporation to corporation. It's already proven it works.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not going to go away, I don't think.
Tomo, it's been a pleasure having you on here.
Yeah.
We could continue with these debates all day.
This could be a 3-hour conversation all day.
We're going to have to cut things here, but it's been great having you on the show. It's Bet Talks is powered to you by our sponsors, by 0x Processing. Here's a gift on behalf of 0x Processing. Not sure it's going to fit you, but you could give it to your little girl. But thank you for coming on. Some great topics we've discussed. To all of our viewers out there, check out Inspired Rejuvenation Clinic, soon to be in the UAE. Listen, I think you're a very smart guy. It's been a pleasure having you on. And good luck tonight at Tech Tuesdays, the 1-year anniversary.
I appreciate it. I'll see you there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming to the show. Thank you very much.
Me on.
Cheers.